When's the last time anybody talked dirty to you, Big D?
Who, Anna?
No, anybody.
Not. It should have been more often. Not recent enough, Gene. That's the answer. Not recent enough.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat The Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And each week, we take a look back in time, decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you like some of the movies we have covered, will cover, want to choose one for yourself, please visit chatpod.com and have a look. And at the end of each podcast, we will provide you, the audience, with a number of wipes each movie we take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV. We review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all that information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you'd like to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel, where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are you reviewing tonight?
So, Gene, each week that I jump on to our Zencaster and I get to see your smiling face, and I know we're going to review a movie from 80s, 90s, 2000s, I look forward to it. I'm excited. This week, I'm even more excited because we have episodes sometimes that aren't so much about the movies, but they're almost like they're a therapy session. We talk about life, experiences, things that are very common moments in people's lives, difficulties they've faced. And tonight could be one of those films. I remember back moments where we've had breakthroughs. We've talked about very personal moments. And tonight, I think there's a good chance it could be that again, because tonight's film, even on the surface of it, looks like it's going to be a funny comedy. Going back and watching it again, it really drove home some of the life moments that we've all gone through. So I was very excited when Steve, Mount Rushmore, big head on the Mount Rushmore, wrote in and commissioned Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
The stars really did align tonight, Big D, because we're doing a couple things that people love. We're talking about a movie from 2008, which there's a lot of demand for that. We're doing a Hot Sauce Steve movie. There's a lot of demand for that. And this is a monumental episode because it is in honor of Hot Sauce Steve's father, who recently passed. We mentioned that on the past episode. But Steve, I hope you enjoy this episode. I hope it brings you some comfort. I think you'll be very pleased with the wipe score. Steve wrote in and said, "Hey, Shat crew, thank you so much for agreeing to do one of my all-time favorite movies, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Let's get out of the way right away. Russell Brand is an absolute giant shit of a person. And while not as bad, Jonah Hill is pretty terrible too. Pretty sure they're not acting in this movie. That's actually just how they are in real life. So what does this movie have going for it? It's really funny. It's very quotable. Paul Rudd and Muppets. For me, the cast did a great job with their roles. I don't notice any wasted screen time, and I can rewatch this movie and still laugh at every joke despite seeing it 20 plus times. It's just one of those movies I can put on once or twice a year if I don't know what to watch and still laugh and enjoy every minute of it. While the Shat crew might not give it a 0 wipe score, it's up there with Dumb and Dumber, Wayne's World, and Zoolander for me at 0 wipes, because those are the factors I look for in a comedy, but to each their own if you all disagree. Have a great day. And that comes from Hot Sauce Steve in Minnesota.
And Steve's got some high aspirations for this film. There's some big dogs there. He's thinking this up there. We'll see.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall is a comedy directed by rookie Nicholas Stoller and starring Jason Segel, Kristen Bell, Mila Kunis, and Russell Brand. The film, written by Segel and co-produced by Judd Apatow, was filmed at the Turtle Bay Resort in Hawaii and released in North American theaters on April 18th, 2008. The story revolves around Peter Bretter, a music composer for a TV show that features his girlfriend, Sarah Marshall, in the lead role. After a 5-year relationship, Sarah abruptly breaks up with Peter. Devastated by this event, he chooses to go on vacation to Hawaii, but runs into Sarah on the island while she is on vacation with her latest boyfriend. Big D, I watched a lot of movies in 2008. It was a time in my life where I just moved to Ohio. I didn't know anybody. You know how Ohio winters are. There wasn't a lot to do in Lima, West Central Ohio, kind of a hellscape. But we had decent movie theaters, and we had a family video, which I recently found out has kind of gone out of business. They're only online now. But most nights would end on the couch after work with a rental on. And sadly, 2008, if you guys all recall, it wasn't a great year for film. There wasn't a lot of good stuff coming out that year. But we did get Forgetting Sarah Marshall and The Dark Knight, which I cannot believe is nearly 20 years old. I'm feeling very 44 tonight.
2008 wasn't necessarily a great year, but this time frame was a lot of comedies that you look back on, and it was a turning point. So we always ask, where were you? What do you remember? I don't remember this specifically because for me, it all bleeds into that Judd Apatow movies. And in this time frame, we had Knocked Up, we had Superbad, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Pineapple Express. I believe he had something to do with, because it was the same guys in all the movies. But there's a lot of great comedies. You have all of like the Dewey Cox, the Walk Hard, or you have Step Brothers, you've got Talladega Nights. Great time for comedies. And I think this film makes me want to go back even more to this general time frame to zero in, because this film, I always remember it being there. Superbad. I always remember it being there. Even though I was older and this wasn't like the comedies of my youth, they hit that sweet spot, and it was so great to go back. And a lot of these films, I don't think get credit for how good they are.
It was also just an interesting time for film consumption as well. We had a listener, Craig, in New Brunswick, who called in and talked about, as we're trying to figure out where to draw the line for our cutoff for what Shat The Movies will cover. And he said, yeah, you should draw it at 2007, because that was really 2008 is really where we started a lot of the mail services, the streaming, and people, stopped going to the theaters as much. And it really just kind of changed the way movies were made. So a lot going on at this time period. Let's hit the trailer.
Hey, you got here fast. I got a surprise for you.
Peter, as you know, I love you.
Are you breaking up with me?
Pete, are you, We're leading different lives. It's like you're standing on the dock and I'm in the lake.
Sarah, I swear to God, I'll jump in the lake like a merman.
Do you want to put some clothes on?
Would you like to pick out the outfit that you break up with me in?
Sexy crime fighter Sarah Marshall's been spotted cozying up to singer and notorious Lothario Aldous Snow.
She's dating somebody. And until I do the same thing, I'm gonna feel like I want to die.
Hi.
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 Do you mind not saying that?
Do you want to gag me?
Kind of now. I had sex with this woman who I barely even know. I'm really scared that I have an STD, Doc.
Peter, I'm a pediatrician. Have you noticed you're sitting on a fire truck?
Everywhere I look, I'm reminded of her.
Why don't you go on a vacation?
I could go to Hawaii.
Welcome to Turtle Bay and enjoy your stay. Peter, what are you doing here?
Came here to murder you.
This is a disaster.
Go someplace else.
I'm not leaving here. It'll look like I'm running away.
Wait, why are you whispering? You're not following them, are you?
Get out of there.
Peter.
You okay?
Got hurt, but I know Sarah, and I'm pretty sure I just ruined her day. I'd like to grab some dinner, please.
Is your girlfriend joining you?
No.
You just by yourself?
Yeah.
Do you want like a magazine or something? It's gonna be boring. I just would be so depressed.
Wait. Why don't you come over and sit with us?
Did you see her boyfriend? He is ridiculous.
I like her hair. I wonder if the carpet matches her pubes.
This spring.
Get out of your head. It's really nice out here.
Are you gonna jump or what? Come on, Peter. I can see your vagina from here.
I'll jump.
Universal Pictures presents.
My homie over here on this honeymoon. Are you given to a hard and rough?
The wife wants me to do certain things.
No.
God would not put a playground next to a sewage system.
A comedy about getting left behind.
You need to get back on that board.
got coral in your leg.
Can you get out of my leg, please, hotel man?
You sound like you're from London.
And coming out ahead.
I think it's good you're getting out there.
I think you need to move just a tiny bit further away from the microphone. No, closer.
Oh.
Now a little further.
Okay.
Closer.
And then...
Oh, I know what you're doing. You stop that.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
That's a great necklace, Liz. Did you have that a second ago?
Oh, that's gross.
Composer Peter Bretter is devastated when his girlfriend of 5 years, TV actress Sarah Marshall, dumps him out of the blue. To get over Sarah, he decides to take a trip to Oahu. However, Sarah and her new boyfriend, British rock star Aldous Snow, are staying at the same resort as Peter. Rachel Jansen, a hotel concierge, takes pity on Peter's situation and offers him an expensive suite for free. It's a big deal. We've covered a lot of crass movies here at Shat The Movies. I think people line them up for us specifically. And a lot of those failed to amuse me. And that disapproval often was met by the listeners with some variation of, you just don't think dirty jokes are funny. And that's not true at all. Anyone who knows me knows I think dirty jokes are very funny if they're actually funny. And this movie is a wonderful platform for me to sort of prove that, right? I was laughing from start to finish, from Jason Segel's dick slapping against his thighs when he's doing the "I have a surprise for you" to him talking with Bill Hader about being his L on some teas. But it takes a clever script and a talented cast to pull it off. This movie has both.
The crude humor needs to be the garnish on the plate. It can't be the sole joke. If you got a great steak, the full frontal dick, the dick shot, that is like the dessert. That is the wonderful finish. It's the palate cleanser. If that's the sole like main meal, it doesn't work. And the movie that immediately jumped into my mind was Something About Mary. We get the balls stuck in the zipper, right? There's nothing more than, oh, wow, look, there's balls stuck in a zipper. It didn't help develop the character. Here, they use the nudity to define who Peter is. It's key to it. We meet him, and you learn everything you need to know about this guy. He's kind of sad. He's kind of pathetic. And like you said, the breakup happens right away, and it shows how pathetic he is. And he says that, I got something for you. And where's the audience? We're like, no, don't do it. We know where it's coming from. We know who this guy Peter is. And we get the quick dick flash. And I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't expect that. Then he's breaking down. He's starting to cry. And he's standing there and he turns around and he bends over. Hairy ass crack and all. He sits on the couch. They flip again. Another full frontal shot. And I'm shocked at this point. I can't believe it. But the full frontal shot isn't just the dick. The dick isn't the joke. The dick is showing him Peter's vulnerable. He's out there. He's exposed. He's in the middle of his 20-something-year-old guy's apartment. It's sad. All the shit he stuffed into the closet. And he's sitting there nude, vulnerable, sad, hurt. He's like a little wounded duck. And as the movie went on, I felt bad that I was laughing at this adult soft man.
There's this great Saturday Night Live skit where Will Ferrell is the nude art model. Mm-hmm. And all the people in the art class are grossed out by him until he starts crying. And it's just a sad, naked man is really, really sad. And this might just be my hetero male viewpoint, but there is nothing more awkward looking in all of nature than a grown man naked. Naked baby, it's cute. It's like a little snack. Mm-hmm. Kids just look normal naked. Kids running around naked, you're like, that's what kids like. That just looks normal for them. They actually look weird in clothes. Naked women, even naked women who are not in any kind of shape, they look well engineered. They look divine. You see God's hand in their creation, right? Mm-hmm. Men, hairless apes. It looks weird. And Jason Segel takes it to the next level because he's so tall, he's so soft, and he's just lined up next to Sarah, who is completely clothed and looking at him, telling him to put his clothes on. And no, Big D, you weren't wrong. You weren't wrong to laugh at a grown man refusing to put on his clothes and sitting bare ass on the sofa. It's funny.
And again, just their body types. You have I think Jason Segel and Seth Rogen, they both represent physically the average man.
Yeah.
Both of these are probably guys that our wives have slept with. like everybody who's listening to this podcast know that guy, you know, that body type. And it's out there. And I don't want to be like the boo-hoo soft guy who's like, talk about emotion. But Gene, you know, as a guy, we're not raised to share our emotions. Nobody ever asked us, how are you feeling? Did that make you feel okay? Did you hurt today? There's like, we don't use those hurtful words. I was raised, nobody cared about what I thought. Nobody cared about, I was never vulnerable because it was seen as weakness.
My mom told me point blank when I was crying once that Lyonses don't get sad. We only get angry.
Yeah.
That was from my mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people don't realize it. There's a generation of dudes that have contained all of their feelings, positive, negative, everything. We've bottled it up because we're afraid to show it. Now, Peter, he takes this to an extent that I don't think is normal. We've seen Peter. We know Peter. We all have Peters in our life. He is clingy right off the bat, and I'm not going to defend him on that because he takes his emotional like availability and his neediness to a different level. He's got countless photos in his apartment of Sarah, and in all of them, he's the one leaning in. He's the one showing. He's a man-child. Okay, he's maybe 20-something. He's got a job, but it's not necessarily something he loves or career. The home decor screams, dude who hasn't grown up yet, man-child. And I can relate to the situation. We've lived it. You and I have lived it. But thankfully, I've never been that emotional submissive in a relationship where it's the needy, like, what do you want? Where do we want to go? Because I think that's the immediate death knell to any relationship. If there is an emotional imbalance where there's a submissive partner, it is bound to end badly.
I definitely can't relate to Peter as a person. I've never lived like that or been in that sort of a dynamic, but I really related to the breakup pain. Like, I think they really pulled that off. And that was a common theme throughout this movie, right? Which is it's a comedy, but there's some real pain in this movie. And there's some things that we can relate to. I thankfully haven't had a breakup in about 6 years. But man, do they fucking hurt. I cried when Kamala Harris lost the election. I cried when my grandma died. I cried when Phoenix Rising won the USL championship. But I've never sobbed other than a breakup. Also when my dog died. But other than dogs dying, dog deaths and breakups. I've had 7 breakups, most of which were my fault. And I still cried for hours.
Yeah, and no matter how tough we believe we are, or we actually are, and how much we suppress everything, watching Peter spiral out of control, I could relate. I've been there on breakups. You know, I haven't been the one who's like crying, but I felt hurt. His apartment is a mess. He's devastated. It's the piles of shit around. He's drinking. He goes to work and has a Gene Lyons moment. Instead of throwing the whiteboard, he's like cutting up the screen. He's not doing very well. And immediately we know within the first 15 minutes who this dude is, what he's about. And even though he's got flaws, we like him.
Now, he's not incapable, though. We should point that out, that he's not like a guy who's just going to sit there and kind of wallow in his misery. Mm-hmm. He wants to do something about it, right? It's awkward, but he's like, yeah, I need to have sex.
Yeah.
That's what he tells Bill Hader, you know? And he does. He goes out. Do you want to come home? That's his pickup line. Do you want to come home? And people go home with him. He's sleeping with lots of women. Mm-hmm. And I see him like fucking all of these rebound lays. There's the dead fish who just announces, I just came, to that wild Latina, to the woman who says hi so much that Peter wants to gag her. But the vibe just isn't right. And I've read books on the topic. I've listened to podcasts. I've been to couples therapy for when the vibe just isn't right. And all of them recommend the same thing. You know, Big D, you talked about guys and talking about their feelings or emotional imbalances, right?
Yeah.
All of the self-help and the therapy and everything I've gotten, they're like, open communication about sex. Talk to your partner about sex. That shit backfires every fucking time. As soon as you start saying, I think there's a problem with our sex life, or what could we be doing better? I just don't feel like I'm getting enough attention, or I don't feel like you're receptive to the way that, or how can I approach you to make it exciting for you? Whatever it is, I don't buy into it. I think there's good chemistry and there's bad chemistry, whether it's a one-night stand or a lifetime relationship, there's no fixing.
Here's the problem. I think when people start off in a relationship, you are the hottest, you are the wildest, you are the freakiest. People don't talk about it, they just do it. And it's not necessarily that you genuinely want that. But when you start off, you don't want to be the wet blanket. You don't want to be the one who's not fun, the one who's outgoing. So you do a lot of things that maybe you normally wouldn't do. And then as you get into the relationship, you grow a little, your love or relationship grows a little stronger, a little deeper. You can share your feelings a little bit more. So I think people slowly drift to the point where they need to go to a therapist. But right off the bat, everybody should have some chemistry. You should be able to connect and have fun. You shouldn't need to talk about it. That certainly you shouldn't have to do that. But he is doing very well, Gene.
Yeah.
There is no traditional trope of guy gets broken up with and he struggles to find a new girl. Peter's not struggling. This dude does like the music to a TV show, which is a pretty bad, procedural, which I love. But he's out there and he is being bold. He's open, and all I could hear in my head, Gene, that is Chad. That is Chad's approach. Opened. Hey, I find you all mildly attractive. Would you like to have sex with me tonight? And the girl's like, you're funny. No, I would you like to come home with me tonight? Next second, he's in bed with her. That works. It's great. That's Chad.
It's a numbers game. If you just go out there and you keep bringing it up, it's going to happen eventually. Like somebody's going to be like, yeah, there's no shame in that game, right? It's not my game. It's not my game at all, but it's highly effective. And it gives us a better framework to understand Peter, because we get that he's not like a massive softie. He is trying to solve his problem. The problem is just, it's a 5-year relationship that he's trying to get out of. For those people who haven't seen this movie in a while, he's not going to Hawaii to find Sarah. He is literally trying to get away, although he is going to a place that she mentioned.
He is. And watching him reintroduce himself like a captured animal back into the wild made me thankful and made me nervous about one day having to do that myself. You need Bill Hader. You need the Brian. You need the voice of reason. The guy who will give you the tough love, the reality check, who will make fun of you. He will scream at you. Stop what you're doing. Put down the phone. What are you thinking about? Stop it. You need him. Bill Hader, fantastic. And as we get into this, there are so many small roles by actors today who are well above these tiny bit pieces, who add so much to it. And that brother, half-brother Brian, he is so great. He's the surrogate voice for every male friend you have who's telling Peter, fucking man up, stand up, get over it, and do the right thing. If you don't have a Brian in your life, find one.
I will equalize you. Things improve when Peter begins spending time with Rachel and developing feelings for her. He confesses to Rachel that he hates his day job and that his true passion is writing a Dracula puppet opera. At a bar, Rachel volunteers Peter to sing a song from the opera and cheers him on as he performs the number. On a day out hiking, she dares Peter to jump off a cliff into the ocean. He makes the jump despite being caught on some vines, after which she kisses him.
So this movie feels different. The comedy hits different. There's an emotional component that I was not expecting. There are heartfelt moments that normally would follow up with a breakthrough, with some kind of growth moment. This movie flips the script and it goes to some ridiculous, absurd humor. The movie sets us up to feel like, oh, there's a bonding moment, there's a breakthrough, only to pull the rug, and it turns into the most ridiculous, jarring twist you've ever seen. And it's playing with my expectations. It's making me unsure of what's going to happen. Perfect example. Peter, he's had a difficult week. He's talking to everybody at the resort about his problem. He's the ex-boyfriend. He's found Chemo at the edge of the water, the big Samoan guy who's going to share a beer with him. He tells him, it's important. Got to get over it. You got to just move on, keep yourself busy. And he says, hey, I'm getting ready to prepare for a luau. The next day, you want to come with me? He goes, okay, sounds like it'll be good. I'll get my mind off of it. And we think that Peter and Chemo are going to go off to have like a prep for a barbecue. It's going to be a good moment. It's going to distract him. Immediately, it smash cuts to Peter being traumatized and chasing around the pig with a knife. And he's trying to stab the pig, and it's shot like a horror movie. And he's like, I'm sorry. And he's stabbing the pig again and again and again. And it cuts to them walking home, silhouetted by the back, the beautiful Hawaiian sunset. And Peter once again is crying. This movie, it's like an emotional whiplash.
Hot Sauce Steve talked about it, that there's no wasted screen time in this movie. They fit so many jokes in between these tender moments, and it's just a different way of fitting in a lot of jokes in a 2-hour movie. We've talked about Airplane, making every joke super loud and just machine gun fire. We talked about Zoolander, where there's like the sight gags with little unexpected twists and dialogue. That's how it fit in its jokes. Forgetting Sarah Marshall, it just peppers these little jokes into every crevice of the movie. And it speaks to the fact that it is rewatchable. When they're walking on the beach with that beautiful sunset behind them, and Kimo says, "I don't cry. I'm not a baby." or when Daryl, Kenneth from 30 Rock, he's on his honeymoon and he's telling his wife, "What is into you? Not me yet." It felt like so much care was put into the comedy, where if you're not paying attention and you miss those jokes, it's still a good movie. And if you're paying close attention, you catch all those jokes, it's an even better movie.
It's because the movie plays with a common theme. We all understand it. We've all questioned our place in life. Are we happy at a job? Are we happy with a spouse? Are we happy with a girlfriend? Are we happy with what we're doing? And the movie beats you over the head a bit about it, saying, hey, take the jump, take a chance. If you're not happy, make a change. And the movie plays with that idea of trading up, like in a rebound relationship. You have Rachel. She's portrayed as the approachable, she's the fun, she's the down-to-earth girl. And she's making it easy for Peter and us to see her. She's a clear upgrade over Sarah. Sarah's high maintenance. She's the career-driven Hollywood. She's a bitch. She's not very nice. She's not very down-to-earth. She's not connected. And we start to see through flashbacks later some other problems in a relationship. But it contrasts that highlight between what Peter thinks he needs and what he wants. If we're talking now about Mila Kunis and Kristen Bell, Mila wins hands down every single time, with the exception of the career possibly. I can't fault her because she took a break from college. And then we have Sarah is a quasi, maybe C-level, Hollywood star. Forget about the cheating. Forget about everything. If I was going to start today and I had a choice between the characters looking like Kristen Bell or Mila Kunis, I'm going for Mila, the cool, Hawaiian, down-to-earth chick who's going to have fun, doesn't take things too seriously. I got to go with her, Gene.
What's strange is how exposure to the real Kristen Bell, or at least the one that appears in interviews in magazines and TV, has changed my view of these two women. In 2008, when I was like 28 years old, I thought Kristen Bell was the hottest thing on earth. And I could not understand how Mila Kunis was supposed to be an upgrade. Like, there was no competition between these two women. Yeah. I thought she was just like, meh, okay, whatever. Wow. But after years of watching Kristen Bell in several shows, oversharing on every TV interview, in all those ads where she's just irritating and always being just like a little too chipper, she really started to get on my nerves. And I'm sure she's a wonderful person. I have nothing against Kristen Bell. If you're listening out there, Kristen, but something, when you get that gut feeling, like something just feels fishy to me, especially with her marriage to Dax Shepard. They're just kind of weird. Yeah. She was fucking stellar on Deadwood. I'm going full Rachel.
You see, I have a problem also with ever since Frozen. She's Anna. All I can hear is Anna. And if she talked dirty, all I'm picturing is, do you want to build a snowman? Come on, let's go and play. And like, if she started talking dirty, that's all I see is an animated little girl standing at the door trying to get her sister to come out.
When's the last time anybody talked dirty to you, Big D?
Who, Anna?
No, anybody.
Not. It should have been more often. Not recent enough, Gene. That's the answer. Not recent enough.
That's not a problem.
No.
Well, meanwhile, Sarah's latest TV show is canceled, and Aldous is about to embark on a world tour with his band, Infant Sorrow. Peter's room is needed by new occupants, so he is placed in the suite next door to Sarah's. Aldous and Peter run into each other while surfing, and Aldous reveals that he and Sarah began having sex a full year before she broke up with Peter. Sarah explains that she began feeling disconnected emotionally from Peter and could no longer salvage their relationship. She becomes aware of the budding romance between Peter and Rachel and starts to feel jealous. Big D, as Hot Sauce Steve said, and I think we can agree, Russell Brand has become a dipshit grifter. He is terrible. It's sad. But let's rewind to 2008, okay? This was fun Russell Brand. This was drugs Russell Brand. He is so good in this movie. He's perfect as just this benign shitbag, just like Hansel in Zoolander, right? Very clear about what he is, very good at lots of things, yoga and sex and songwriting and fashion. He isn't trying to hurt anybody, but he also doesn't feel an obligation to anyone, right? Very Oscar Wilde. There's that scene where he and Peter, they're hanging on surfboards, and it's terrific because it brings up something that we've all experienced as guys, right? You've got an ex, and she starts dating somebody who's cooler than you are. And you know it, and she knows it, and he knows it. And it's really frustrating because it's hard when you want to hate someone, but you have no reason to hate them, and they're actually pretty fucking cool.
So let's separate the actor, right?
Yeah.
What about Aldous Snow do you hate? What makes you think he's an asshole? I take him as honest to a fault. He doesn't lie. To like the most embarrassing moments, whether he has herpes, he is open and transparent to everyone. Doesn't that deserve points?
I don't like the fact that he tries to act like he's really deep in his music videos and in his music when he's incredibly shallow as a person.
Right, but when we see him in person, that's his business side. That's his persona.
No, that's him. But he's not malicious. I just wouldn't want to hang out with him.
I disagree. I would want to hang out with him. I would. And I think, Gene, we would like more people if we gave him a chance. We have a reason not to like him because he stole Peter's girl, but when they're sitting out there and they're on the boards and they're having an honest moment between the two of them, and it's a genuine conversation. Allison's saying, hey, Peter, I like your music. You're like a dark goth Neil Diamond. It's a genuine connection. He says, I want to hate you, but I actually liked you. And they have a bond. And it quickly shifts when he realizes, because Allison's like, hey, you have 4 years on me. So he realizes she's been cheating much longer. But his cavalier attitude, it's honest. He says, it's just sex. And, he gets mad and says, this isn't Europe. You can't think like that. I like the fact that he's honest. And I would want to choose to hang out with him and drink, but I wouldn't want to emotionally be in a vulnerable relationship with him.
Yeah, I've been in lots of like late night drunken discussions about bro code. And I'm a firm believer in bro code. Like if somebody is in a relationship with a dude, I am not going to mess around with that person. Not because I'm worried about my own self-preservation. It's bro code, right? But when you think about it, bro code's pretty illogical. Like you don't know that guy. You have no obligation to that guy. Why do we follow bro code?
I don't know. It's one of those strange things we do. But he is never overtly an asshole to anyone. Even Jonah. When Jonah says, you listen to my tape, he goes, I was going to, but then I kept on going, living my life. He's honest with everybody to a fault. When he realizes he's being used by Sarah for some kind of sexcapade to scream out, he says, hey, this was a mistake. I think I'm going to leave in the morning. Then she turns spiteful and mean. And she says, I hate your music. And Aldous says, well, it's okay. I fucked the housekeeper the other day. He's honest. He's out there. I like him. I can't fault him. But it's so genuine what Sarah's going through. In the beginning, she's in a position of power. She's got this, he does music for a TV show. He's a nobody. He's a regular guy. She's the celebrity on the face of Billy Bush is interviewing her, and she's out there and people know who she is. And she sees that she has a chance for an upgrade. She's going to go on. She's going to move. She has a new, exciting new relationship with a rock star, and she sees Peter as whatever. He's disposable. She did it for a year. She moves on. The second that she sees Peter happy with a hot, young Rachel, she immediately thinks, he is more attractive and desirable. And this is like the weirdest thing that happens. You don't want something until you can't have it or you don't have it. I grew up, Gene, and I've said this before, the pool metaphor. I always thought if I had a pool, I would be swimming every single day.
Really?
Every day, yes, growing up, because I had one or two friends who had it. I now have a pool, Gene. I couldn't tell you the last time I went in my pool.
The King Bee and I have this debate almost weekly where he'll be looking at houses. He's like, oh, it's got a pool. And I say, you don't want a pool. Oh, no, why? Why would I want a pool? Dude, you don't want a pool. It's all work and no play. Nobody wants to get a pool.
I will be honest. I do like looking at it, sitting out there and having a coffee and listening to the water go. There is something therapeutic about it, but it's a true thing. We want what we can't have. And once Peter is genuinely moved on, and then Rachel starts to realize what she took for granted, and it's a classic case. Once it's gone, and even though she tries to claw back, she tries to play a bit dirty and tries to manipulate and get her claws back into her. I understand it. We've all been there, but I was so expecting Peter to roll back further than he did. And that fact that he was self-aware enough to move on and he had at least healed to that point, I was very thankful.
Have you considered like maybe a water feature? They have small fountains you can have in your home. You can listen to the water there. You don't need. You're like full blown Tony Soprano over here. Are ducks landing in your pool?
No, it's covered. I have an enclosure. We're in Florida. We have cicada. You don't leave it open.
But what you're talking about, Big D, this grass is greener effect, right? This is why you shouldn't stay Instagram or Facebook friends with your exes. At least not for a few years. You need time for that shit to cool out, because even if you don't want them back, which I never have, I used to regularly spy on ex-girlfriends on social media just to see who they were dating and whether they were happy. And if they were miserable, I was fine. But if they looked happier than they were with me, I would seethe. I'd be so fucking mad about it. And it wasn't that I wanted to be back together. You measure yourself against these other dudes. You're like, that guy looks like a dickhead. Or even worse is if the guy looks way cool or really accomplished or super tough. Or if they're into the same things you're into, but better at those things. Oh, that would be like the worst. And so you got to think, if Sarah is employing that logic, then she's like, oh my gosh, Peter is falling in love with the help, the front desk lady at the resort who I don't even pay attention to.
But when she's saying, Peter, he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And Rachel's like, yes, I know. It's pathetic. And thankfully, Gene, I met Vanessa right at the dawn of dating apps. I had a profile on like Yahoo Dates.
So what the fuck is Yahoo Dates?
Oh, don't even date me. Whatever. It was like a dating profile.
Was this before OkCupid or after?
Oh, way before that. We're talking like 2003. We're talking way
I didn't know
back.
there was an internet back then.
Yes, there was an internet. Yes.
Wow.
So, and it wasn't even dial-up, Gene. It was high speed. It was probably maybe like 1 meg down. I don't know. Who knows what it was. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't miss it, because now I think it's got to just fuck with your head. That you maybe you swipe right. Is that when you swipe with somebody you like?
I think it. Hold on.
I think right.
I think left is like to pass, and
right, so I think right is what you like.
You like them? Okay, yeah.
I think that's got to screw with your head. And everybody now, you have FOMO, and you have. I'm thankful I am beyond that, and I'm thankful that I don't have to deal with it, because it seems like a lot of mind games. Relationships are hard enough.
Yeah.
To add in the complexity of now you're comparing yourself to the rest of the world. And I saw a stat, Gene, where they said the couples that are the least happy are the ones that post the most of like happy couple shots. So take that for what it's worth.
I'm going to stop posting my jiu-jitsu videos. Shit. Well, the two couples later share an awkward, drunken dinner together, after which Peter and Rachel have hotel sex. Hearing them through the wall, Sarah tries to compete by initiating sex with Aldous and moaning loudly. When Aldous realizes Sarah is trying to provoke a reaction from Peter, he pushes her off and tells her she's not over her ex-boyfriend. He breaks up with her after a heated argument. The next day, Peter goes to Sarah's room to console her, which leads to Sarah admitting she still loves him and wants to reconcile. The two start to fool around, but Peter abruptly cuts it off because of his feelings for Rachel. He immediately goes to Rachel to confess what happened, but she is hurt and demands that he leave and never contact her again.
So again, I don't know if this is universal, but I'll be interested to hear your take on it. What do everyone in this movie tell Peter to do? Hey, Peter, get over it. You're going to be okay. Move on. One day at a time. All that tropey bullshit. Now you get all of these like Instagram posts, inspirational ones about it's the beauty of the day. Just move on. And healing is one step. Whatever.
Who are you following?
I don't know. I'm just I see them sometimes. It's not like I get them all the time, But people do say it. People say, listen, at the end, you're going to be hurt. You're going to be mad. You feel betrayed in the relationship. It's over. It's gone. People tell you move on. And it sounds so easy when someone's outside of a relationship. I can easily tell you, Gene, what's wrong, what's right, problems that you could solve easily, but you don't see it when you're in it. And it's so bizarre because when you're in that moment and you're hurt and the world seems to end and you can't think about doing work, you can't think about doing the things you enjoy, you can't imagine ever getting over it. But then something happens. You meet the hot girl. She's the receptionist. She gives you the free room. She's beautiful. She takes you out. You have a good time and you realize there is something else out there. And you start to realize that maybe you weren't as happy as you thought. And a switch flips. And from that moment, you forget. You actually do move on. You forget about the pain. And you wake up the next morning like Peter does after the first time they're together. And he actually no longer cares until you flip that switch. It seems like it'll never happen, but you do. And immediately you can't remember why last night did I care so much? Have you ever experienced that as well? Or is that just me that I have the ability to flip it and just immediately change in a moment?
Yeah, mine's far more messy, but I found that resets are the most important, right? I generally, after a breakup, I'll go into like a period of solitude. I'm not around anybody, right? And that really is what helps me get through it. But getting back to Rachel and Peter, there's a moment where they're having sex and Peter is, being intentionally loud so Sarah can hear him through the wall. And so Sarah's retaliating and Aldous is turned off, which he should be. That's kind of gross. But if you pay really close attention to that scene, you see Rachel, she's getting into it. And she and Peter, they're laughing and they're moaning together. They're having fun with it. And that's such a beautiful touch. Again, the care that's put into this movie, showing that she gets him. She appreciates him. She's even so ride or die that she's willing to participate in him getting back at his ex by being loud to play head games with her. And, it just inspired me to have more fun like with Sarah. Like, we're such serious people so much of the time. And you got to stop and think, you remember when we used to laugh all the time? Remember when we were goofy with each other? And again, I mean, those moments happen on a daily basis for sure, but you see them getting less frequent and less intense. It's why you listen to love songs. It's why you watch romantic comedies, to kind of remind yourself of being silly as a part of a relationship and also how you show each other that you're there for each other.
So you asked earlier about chemistry. Do I believe in sexual chemistry immediately? Vanessa and I have something called the bubble. Okay, the bubble is like home. It is like our little area. Like the bubble was Vanessa and I. Then Emma got into the bubble. That it's the people that you're like, shit, I don't want anything else but the bubble. I want to go into the bubble. And you have to find that. You got to find the person that you have fun with. People don't go out there and try to find, this girl's super hot. Just find the one who's ride to die. Someone who's going to have fun, that you can laugh at other people, that you can enjoy the same, just little simple things, that you share the same core beliefs. It's important. And I think that's the most important thing.
Hanging out with Sarah and a bottle of whiskey and nothing else, maybe a campfire and that's it, blankets. It's the best. It's my favorite thing. And it's it's so simple, but it's it's all you really need. Everything else is just kind of, window dressing.
It's awesome. You hit the jackpot. Yeah. It's a good thing. And when the movie starts off, we are supposed to immediately be on Peter's side. Peter's our guy. We're gonna pull for him. He's been hurt. He's the everyman. And the film uses a little trick, which I think is really, really useful, and it's effective. They use the flashbacks, and they use it strategically. And it's going to teach us about both characters, how they see the past relationship, and then also how they start to realize things they've done wrong. It starts off where we start seeing Peter. He's flashing back. And all of his memories are like this happy, perfect couple. It's filled with all the nostalgic moments of them, that they've spent time together. But as the movie goes on, it starts to flip to where he starts to identify problems that they'd had. He goes out to the bar with Rachel and he's like, I'll get the next one. I'll get he falls back into his needy little submissive role. And she says, listen, I'm not that type of girl. And immediately Peter sits back and we flip to the flashbacks. And he goes back to all those moments now and he realizes where Sarah used him as a handbag holder, where he's off on the side of the red carpet. He's embarrassed. He's not happy. He's starting to see the flaws in the relationship. They do the same thing with Sarah. Sarah starts off where she starts seeing her flashback memories of trying to teach Peter to better himself. And it starts to recontextualize the way that we see her and their relationship, that it's not one-sided. Sarah's not the bad guy. Peter's not the victim. They both are the problem. And Sarah starts having where she tries to get Snow to wear the t-shirt that he doesn't want to, or the shirt. And she flips to realizing how she used to use Peter as like an accessory with his little man satchel or his hat, to where he was getting mocked. And it does a great job of balancing who we think was wrong and realize nobody's right in this. Like you said earlier, they're just wrong for each other.
I'm so glad you brought this up, because I was proud of Forgetting Sarah Marshall for giving us Sarah's side of the story. This is so often left out of movies. It's so one-sided, where somebody's just mean. They're the mean ex, and then you find the new person, and then you realize that that person's better and the other person was just mean. Yes, Sarah cheated on Peter. Yes, she manipulates him. Yes, she wasn't a great girlfriend, but it's wrong to leave the hero blameless. And a comedy doesn't have to go the extra mile to actually examine a relationship, but this comedy does. Like, Forgetting Sarah Marshall went there. The reasoning is also, it makes sense, right? It's not something outlandish. It's not something silly. It's something that you saw, Big D, from the beginning of the movie. Peter is a bit of a disappointment. He's a man-child. He refuses to grow up and to get his shit together. And Sarah says she tried therapy. She tried books. She tried communication. She was putting in some work, but none of it worked because they just weren't right for each other.
Sarah's line, she's breaking down. She says, I tried, I did, but you were just too stupid to notice. And it's blunt. It's honest. It's an admission that she tried and she's frustrated. It's raw. It's unfiltered. Immediately, I felt bad for her. I remembered all those girlfriends who tried to improve me or tried to make me change, and he couldn't. And it's delivered in a way that you start to realize that Peter was a part of the problem. Peter owns part of this. And he starts to internalize it at that moment. He walks away. And he begins his journey where he starts to look at things in a more honest way. And we needed it, because without that, this is just a traditional, she broke his heart, he's going to find the new girl, they're going to be happy. And it puts the relationship into a context that we see it, Peter sees it, and eventually they grow from it in the end. And it recontextualizes the entire framework of their relationship and the breakup in a way that you can see both sides.
Taking that a step further, it even makes you think about his early happy memories. Like, what were they doing? Hanging around the house, playing Dance Dance Revolution. It wasn't any of the stuff that she likes to do. It was the stuff that he likes to do, and exactly the things that set her off. So those happy memories for him probably weren't that happy for her.
No, I didn't get a Dance Dance Revolution in my version. I went for the R-rated version. So some of this I didn't get to experience, but
it's just his dick flapping around.
Naked Dance Dance Revolution would not be fun. So after the argument, Peter and Sarah, they still have a connection. They still have a history. They still have years. There's still things to work out. Even though Peter's found the new relationship with Rachel, she's beautiful. He's starting to move on. And Sarah's starting to feel worried. She's lost the show. She's lost her rock star boyfriend. So she's going to manipulate a vulnerable Peter, and she starts to work him. She knows. She's been with him for years. And I'm starting to feel bad. Like, oh, don't do it. Don't do it, Peter. It's a difficult situation, but I understand why she's doing it. He falls into the old trap. He starts to hook up with her, and he immediately regrets it. Maybe he should have regretted it 10 to 15 seconds earlier. I kept yelling, Peter, don't do it. Don't do it. But he lasted 15 seconds too long.
There was a blowjob on the table.
I know.
I mean, that's asking a lot of a guy.
Oh, the best is she's like, should I use my mouth? And he goes, sure, try it. Why not? Just try it.
Maybe try it a little longer.
Just try it. And later on, one of the bartenders says, he's just a man. What did you expect him
Exactly.
to do? There's nothing he could do. So I understand. Yes, he's wrong. 10 to 15 seconds later. But now he has to confess, G. He's realized in this moment, this is guy logic. Okay, this is not woman logic. This is guy logic. He says, listen, this is actually a good thing. It's a good thing. I've realized I'm over her and I love you, Rachel. And she's like, listen, I need to know what happened. Oh, and he's dancing around it. Well, there was some intimacy. What happened? I need to know. I need to know what happened. And he says, basically it was 10 to 15 seconds of oral sex, but I'm still a good guy. He's trying to tiptoe around it. And I just felt for him because we've been there. and maybe not in a situation like this where it was, the infidelity led to a revelation that another relationship was starting. But Gene, have you ever been in an awkward situation where you have to go tell someone a hurtful truth that will embarrass you, that will hurt you, will hurt them more? Anything like this ever happened to you?
All the time. Did you have a girlfriend in high school that went into college with you?
No, again, I didn't have sex until college. So no.
That's right. Yeah, but you could have had a girlfriend. They exist without sex.
Not really. It was more like a pity prom date. It wasn't like a girlfriend.
Well, I had a girlfriend in high school that also was my girlfriend freshman year of college, Lindsay. We broke up 4 times, but got back together 3 of the times. And in between each of those times, I fooled around with other people. And to me, right, my bullshit explanation or rationalization was, well, I didn't fool around with people while we were together. It was always during breakups in getting back together. I mean, she's not stupid. Like, she would know. And so I would have to confess to what I did so that it was, at least I was coming clean on those things, right? And the confession was genuine. Like, I did feel bad about it. But like you said, yeah, it was a backward confession because I would always rationalize it with some nihilist bullshit or like a poem about how my spirit was torn between impulses. And again, to be clear, these weren't lies, right? But they were backward as fuck. Like, it would be like this. Okay, so love is not a real thing, and there's not like one person out there for you. There's no such thing as a soulmate. So we decide, we give value to love. And so therefore, how would I know that I loved you if I didn't go and experience things with other people to understand the difference, right? And it's fucking stupid, but a 19, 20-year-old Gene Lyons very much believed this was real, and it was very awkward and very hurtful.
It's the emotional gymnastics we can all do to rationalize or justify what we... This isn't the girl who you both promised you wanted to be a virgin for her.
No.
Okay.
No, that was
so
Aaron. This
was the revenge tour. This was somebody after that.
I wouldn't call it a revenge tour. Like, this is a person I was legitimately in love with.
So this just popped into my head. If you asked all of your prior girlfriends to rate you on a 1 to 10 on how good of a guy are you?
Oh.
What would the average of all of them be? 1 to 10.
Average? Probably like a 3.
So you leave them torn, you leave them bad.
I mean, saying I leave them torn or bad sounds like I'm like some sort of like a Wall Street like raider. Or no.
A 3? Dude, a 3 implies they're all mad.
I was not good at relationships.
Okay, I like it. You've owned it. Yeah. That's great.
I've never hit anybody. I've never threatened anybody. I've never like broken things in front of anybody, like any of that shit.
Ugh.
I had a wandering eye for sure. And also emotionally volatile.
Probably think I'm like probably a 5. You're probably right.
You're definitely better than me.
I know. I did the worst thing, and it's just coming to me now. I'm starting to realize it. So when I moved to Florida, I was dating a girl who deployed to Iraq. Vanessa was my neighbor. I had the picture of the army girlfriend up on the wall for probably about 4 or 5 months. Finally broke up with her while she was in Iraq. That wasn't a nice thing to do.
You fucked Jody.
Yeah, so I think I'm a 5, maybe. I might even be lower.
But hey, we met the right person, cleaned up our acts, Now we're just honest guys. Just a couple of honest guys. Listen, if we were going to be bad guys, that would have happened in New Orleans. We were fine. We were good guys. All the guys on the trip were good guys.
Agreed. I think you would have. We both would have been disappointed if the other was naughty.
Yeah. I wouldn't rat you out, but I'd be disappointed.
Agreed.
Yeah. Before leaving, Peter goes to the bar they visited and removes a topless photo of Rachel that was hung in the restroom's art collage without her consent. He returns the photo to Rachel, bruised from a beatdown by the bar owner. Peter flies back to LA and begins working on his Dracula puppet opera, A Taste for Love. He sends an invitation to Rachel for the opening night performance, and she decides to attend. After the successful performance, Rachel congratulates Peter and tells him she's looking into staying in the area. She leaves so Peter can bask in the success of his show, but she quickly returns to Peter's dressing room to tell him she misses him. The film ends as they embrace and kiss. Much of this film, Big D, is spent at the resort in Hawaii. And before I'd ever traveled to an all-inclusive resort, my mom would tell me all about them. All-inclusive resorts and cruises, the best part is making friends with the staff that you see every day. Whether it's Mario, the pool aerobics instructor, or Maria, the hostess at the buffet, or Jeff, the concierge. And she would tell me this, and I would dismissively think, yeah, Mom, those are not your friends. You didn't make friends. They're paid to be nice to you. But Sarah and I went to Dreams Resort in Cancun, and I saw what my mom meant. Like, most of the guests, Americans, most of them, they totally ignored the staff. They treated them as subhuman. They didn't acknowledge them. But my favorite memories of that trip were kicking it with the bartender or having balcony beers with the bellhop. Like, I loved these connections I made with the people working there. And I'm not saying I'm an exceptional human. Like, I notice the little people. I take pity on them. This is really enjoying the company, much like the Titanic, right? You go below deck and you see the real party. It's with the workers. And I don't know if I'm like Peter and thinking that these are my buddies, but they're really not, or if I really did forge friendships.
It's tough because, like, I've worked service jobs, and I think everybody should work a service job because it teaches you, kind of like, it puts things in perspective. So it's hard. I would like to believe, Gene, because I'm very much like you. When I go on cruises, I've never done the all-inclusive. I believe we have genuine connections. We've talked to bartenders. Hey, what's it like on the ship? Hey, but again, I don't know. There is an equal chance that I am not making a genuine connection because I think we're kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think people would want, like, if you're working a long shift on the bar on a cruise ship, you could either have, like, the drunk asshole who's fighting with his girlfriend or a guy who's trying to pick up women, or you could have a couple who's sitting down and asking you questions about your life. That is like 50-50. That might be it. Or the equal possibilities that we could be the dumb guy at the strip club spending thousands of dollars, and we believe that the stripper likes us, that the stripper wants to be friends with us. And they even make that correlation in the movie about, are you, please, you think Rachel likes you? No, she's the help. She's guest services. You're the dumb guy at the strip club. So I can't tell. It's hard. I don't know.
It's such a great scene when Peter's like hanging out with all the resort workers on the beach. And he's like, oh, no, it's cool. I know this guy from breakfast. It just gets fucking decked.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's hard. And I'm expecting that this movie is going to make some kind of a turn at the end. There's going to be a happy ending. You don't know how Peter is going to come out of this. We don't know because it goes bad. I mean, after the cheating, she says, leave. Don't contact me. Don't call me. Don't have anything to do with me. So you think, how is Peter ever going to come back from this? And he goes back to LA and he's going to work on his Dracula rock opera. And he's broken. He's hurting. He steals the picture to at least try to make something right. He goes back and he is self-loathing. He's playing on the piano. He's like, I'm a no talented hack. I'm a nobody. And then one day, Gene, he flips the switch. He goes to sleep. He wakes up and he actually starts to heal. He starts playing music. He's feeling better. He starts to work out. He's starting to connect with the family, and he takes that leap. This movie, Gene, is as ridiculous as it is. There's moments like where Rachel and Peter are sitting on the cliffs, and they're talking about taking a leap. If you're not happy, make the move. And Peter makes the move. He takes the leap, and he says, you know what, screw it. He starts working out. He starts eating better. He starts hanging out with his family. He starts hanging out and writing good music. He's healing. He's letting Rachel do her thing until he's finally actually changed. Don't tell me what you're going to do. Actually make the change. And he makes the change. He sends to the premiere. And Gene, this opera, this Dracula puppet opera, have you ever seen anything as epic and fantastic as this is?
It's so brilliant that there's one point when he performs the first song, he doesn't want to do it. And Rachel just yells out in the bar, Dracula musical. That alone, the two words, it's fucking funny. And then when we actually get the delivery of it, he does the voice. And then when we actually get to see it with the puppets, it's right up there with Rushmore.
It's better than anything we ever deserved.
That's true.
When I'm envisioning a puppet like rock opera of Dracula, there are like multiple characters. There's like the flaming, like the local people in the village with torches. It is, if you release this would be like the biggest hit ever. It is fantastic. She watches the show. Everyone is telling him, hey, it's great. And there's like a poignant moment there. After again, like he's naked, he's vulnerable again. We're going to bookend it with him naked. And he says, I never realized it was a comedy. And then somebody told me it was, and it opened it all up. And this is a huge encapsulation of the entire journey he's taken. He's changed. He's reflected. He's realized that he is Dracula. He has all this pain. He's internalized it. He's looked at things too serious, and he's changed his life. He's embraced the humor and the chaos. And Peter finally understands that these difficult moments, they're not insurmountable. And he moves on, and it's the full circle. There has never been, I think, in any romantic comedy to where the ending change in a character is more earned than this fucking guy creating a Dracula puppet opera. It is fantastic.
And Hot Sauce Steve insisted that we watch the unrated version of Forgetting Sarah Marshall. And I was so glad that I did. So thanks, Hot Sauce Steve, for that recommendation. Because if you look at the online reviews, they're like, this is a gimmick. It's just a way to sell another version of the movie, that it only adds a dumb yoga scene, female nudity, and like a Jonah Hill outburst. That's all you get. But that description alone is enough reason for me. And what really made it powerful is this unrated version. It showcased, like you said, some generational talents like Jonah Hill, like Kristen Wiig, who otherwise would have very small roles in this film. But Jonah Hill going off in a whisper the whole time, or Kristen Wiig feeling up Russell Brand, and she nails yoga instructor so well. She keeps going, you can just do child's pose, and just keeps pointing at the mat, or saying that yoga is not a competition, but these two appear are the best at it. Like that is so good. If you're going to make a movie 6 minutes longer, this is how you do it. You make those 6 minutes count.
I can't imagine if the 6 minutes makes it any more emotionally. It hit for me at the end. Again, you've got a naked Jason Segel standing there. It's ridiculous, but he's realized, and again, Gene, it brings in that final thing, the miscommunication gap we talk about between guys and men and women in general. He navigates that minefield beautifully. Rachel says, I can't believe you never called. It's a simple thing, right? She said, don't call. As a guy, he says, well, I listened. That's such a hard thing to do. And that encapsulates the whole total frustration of the communication between guys and girls. And he literally listened. He did it. He interpreted it. He went and changed and then reached out. And I was so glad. I was afraid that he was going to let her walk out into the streets of LA. She's there. They connect. It's a great ending where both characters have grown, everything. And then we get the stinger at the end with that ridiculous animal instinct. Whatever, that ridiculous. And the funny part is that Jason Segel actually had a role in a couple episodes from 2004 to 2005 of CSI. So that was very close to home in that humor and that role, but it was great.
Well, now it's time in the podcast we give our Shat Score for us, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. The Shat Score is our way of telling you how many wipes this movie takes to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's when the weather outside is weather. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster of a movie. It's rimming waiters for their tips. Big D, we'll start with you. What is your wipe score for Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
Steve, first of all, I'm very sorry for your loss and very thankful for you and the man that you are, and I appreciate you being part of our community here. And thank you for making us watch this, because it's impacted me. It really has. I think Forgetting Sarah Marshall, it subverts everything that we've seen in romantic comedies with the tropes. It's raw. It's honest. It shows both sides of the relationship. It shows a breakup and healing and self-discovery and the emotional steps that everybody goes through. I couldn't believe how much I connected. I kept trying to find a flaw, Gene, in this film, and I couldn't. There was not a joke that was misplaced. There was not any kind of growth that was not earned. This is a perfect romantic comedy for me. This is a zero wipe.
Big D, I am right there with you, saying this is a perfect comedy. This is a zero wipe movie. We went through this entire review not even bringing up Paul Rudd. This movie has Paul Rudd in it, and he is fucking hilarious. But there was so much to talk about that we didn't even bring him up.
Dude, normally I would have run, and I was going to get the Hawaiian name generator. I was going to generate your Hawaiian name. His whole like mantra about like living life, and I don't know how old I am in years at 44. That deserved like a 5-minute conversation. But in a film like this, that's just the extra. That's the world building.
Yeah, it's one thing to be a comedy. It's one thing to be a truly funny comedy. It's another thing to be a truly funny comedy where no joke is misplaced, and then to add a level of memorability, a level of emotion to the whole thing, and just a cast that is insanely talented. I can't ask for more out of a movie. Well, Big D, with unanimous 0 wipes, where does that put Forgetting Sarah Marshall in the pantheon of Shat?
So, Gene, with a 0 wipe score, that now ties this with only 4 other films.
Wow.
It has been since February of 2020 since we gave a perfect score to Dumb and Dumber. That's how long it's been. Episode 147 was our last perfect score. So people, we don't throw these 0 wipes around lightly. It has been a long time. So this is now a perfect film tied with Dumb and Dumber, Back to the Future, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Pulp Fiction.
That's bonkers. 4 years. Almost 5 years.
Again, it was earned. I could not find a flaw. I started to look for them and couldn't.
Yeah, I tried to think of one thing that I would do differently.
No. When you told me it was a 0 wipe, I was like, oh, Gene is just, that's hyperbole. There's no way Gene could believe that. But yes, it is. Thank you, Steve.
Agreed. Thank you, Steve. And to close out this episode, we have a voicemail from Steve.
Hey, Shat crew. It's Hot Sauce Steve here, hoping to get this voicemail in for my commission of Forgetting Sarah Marshall at the end as a listener voicemail. Just listened to Zoolander when it came out today, and thank you so much for doing that movie. It was a great episode. It came much needed. A little bit of laughter today, just because this is the day after the election, and, kind of sucks. Kind of scared for the country. Also, my dad is at the end of his life as well, so it was a much needed distraction. But I did want to throw in a couple critiques there, just that I thought of during. First of all, Big D, I only do the football league for fantasy. I used to do basketball, but I couldn't get enough people to do it, so I ended that. I know there's the premiere in the baseball. Not sure who's in charge, but I am not in charge of those. I would be interested in potentially doing the baseball one, though, next year. And then also, yes, I am very particular. I know I have ADHD. This year, or end of last year, I discovered I have autism. So if I seem kind of, different, it's because I have ADHD and autism, which is great. So yeah, thanks for what you guys do. I'm excited to see how the Forgetting Sarah Marshall episode came out, and thanks for doing Zoolander. I will probably commission a war movie at some point, maybe Tropic Thunder, just for you, Big D and Gene. But yeah, in memory of my dad, who was a Vietnam vet. So thanks so much.
I don't know if Tropic Thunder categorized as a war film, and that would be probably a fun film. I would hope your dad would enjoy that film for you to commission it for.
And as a testament to what a stand-up guy Hot Sauce Steve is, he is sharing the credit for the many commissions of our different leagues, some of which I do better in than others, but all of them I'm quite shit at. You did pretty well in baseball, right?
Yeah, but again, I can't close the deal. I can't. I'm terrible. My football, it's a disaster. It's awful.
Yeah.
My draft score was 98. It was you are guaranteed to make the Final Four. Bullshit. I'm a hot mess.
Well, as always next season.
Always. You never know.
Big D, what do we have coming up next week?
Gene, next week, we have a thriller about an honest marshal in a corrupt mining colony on Jupiter's sunless third moon, who is determined to confront a violent drug ring even though it may cost him his life. After his wife angrily deserts him, he waits alone to arrive the killers hired by the company to eliminate him. Futuristic remake of High Noon, commissioned by Rob T. And we might have a special guest for this episode, Gene.
I'm really excited. We haven't had any Sean Connery in a minute, and I've never seen this one. I'm all ready to go, Rob. I'm all ready to go. Thank you, Rob, for your upcoming commission. Thank you, Hot Sauce Steve, for your commission. Thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat The Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat The Movies. Email us, host@shatpod.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all our information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all the information on our website, shatpod.com/TV, wherever fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, and if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next time for the following movie.
In a mining town on the second moon of Jupiter, something deadly is happening.
Pretty soon they'll see that this is just like every other mining town. I work these people hard, and I let them play hard. There's never much trouble. We're all professionals.
I'm sure we are. We've only been here 2 weeks. It'll get better, I promise.
I got nothing more on that incident in the mine yesterday. It looks like some guy just went wacko.
It happens here.
How often?
I don't know. It just happens here.
Why?
I'm not a psychiatrist. I can't tell you why. Some people just can't take it here after a while.
What's that guy think he's doing? No way it could have been homicide. Had to have been a suicide.
28 in the last 6 months.
Did you do autopsy?
No.
Then how do you know it was a suicide? There's no other explanation.
When a person exposes himself to zero pressure atmosphere, there isn't a whole lot left to inspect.
Something's there, isn't it?
Maybe.
Try and meddle, I want you to know what you're meddling with. How do you leave? You're dealing with grown-ups here.
Bingo.
Marshall, you're dead.
If you're the kind of guy you're supposed to be, you wouldn't stick around. That's why they sent you here.
Maybe they made a mistake.
Outland, the ultimate enemy, is still man.